Good afternoon and warm welcome to the Bergs Capital Markets Day. A warm welcome to you in the auditorium and a warm welcome also to you on the web. It's actually the first time in 102 years, so it's not that regular, this type of capital markets events for Bergs at the moment. My name is Dan Zettervall and I will be moderator today. One important purpose of today's program is to tell you more about the activities that are conducted within Bergs. Bergs is historically known as a sawmill company, but there is so much more going on in Bergs today that we would like to share with you. Sawmill operations is something most people can relate to, and where you understand what comes in and what comes out in terms of finished products. But what is wood protection, and what is the business under the term joinery? How do we add value in extended processing and development? In addition to CEO Peter Nilsson and CFO Anders Marklund, we are fortunate to have three more knowledgeable people here with us today who will each give us an orientation and in-depth look at different parts of the business in Bergs. We have, for instance, Johnny Andersson from the subsidiary Bitus, who will talk about joint protection. We have Walt Kurpnieks from the subsidiary Bykolat, and Jay Penduley, who represents the PTP group and will give us an insight into the market for windows and doors in the premium segment. Briefly about the program. These are the topics that we will cover today. Peter will talk about the group and the strategy, and we will present details of the product area wood protection, followed by coffee at about 3 o'clock, followed by a presentation of the joinery segment. Peter will return and talk about sawn wood. We will talk about sustainability and the financial details from Anders. And Peter will come back at the end and make a summary of the presentation. The overall presentation will be presented on the corporate web afterwards. And with this, I leave the floor to Peter Nilsson, who will introduce himself and talk about the overall strategy and the way forward. Please, Peter.
Thank you, Don. I don't need this one, I hope. So my name is Peter Nilsson, and I've been in the sawmilling and the wood trade, I would say longer than I can remember. I was actually born into it. And the last 8 years with Bergs, and it's really nice to stay here today and to tell you a little bit more, Stan explain what we're doing. There's no really big news, but at least we will try to educate you or tell you a bit how we're going to do things. But I need to start to look back, because history is, in some ways, it is important. And the company is more than 100 years. It started with Mr. Fabian Berg in deep Småland. And it started with sawmills, and actually one sawmill. It was a movable sawmill, and they started to help farmers in the area. And then it grew, and then very successfully was performing, and in 1984 it became a public company in Stockholm. It's a long time, as soon as 40 years as public company. And then it was acquired. They acquired a few more sawmills, and When I started, we acquired actually 3 sawmills in the same areas. We were, at that time, quite an important player in the southeast of Småland, or Sweden, with sawmilling. In 2018, we acquired Norvik, an Icelandic company from the beginning, their operations in the Baltics and in the UK, and by that the company became more than double size. So we came from revenue of 500 million up to about 3 billion in quite a short time. We acquired the Fågelfors pellet mill, and then we made a deep study of the sawmills in Sweden, I mean our sawmills. And it has been volatile, some very good years and some not so good. And we could see that it required a lot of investments, and at the same time we had ideas for how to develop the wood protection, joinery and the rest, and we want to do more things. And so we evaluated the situation and we came to the conclusion that it was not realistic to do both at the same time. And then we have the option to sell the Swedish sawmills, and so we did. And that's about 2 years ago now. And then we adopted the new strategy and we communicated it, and we've started to do quite some investments, and we have also acquired the English door and window company distributor, as we're going to tell a lot more about later today. That's brief. I mean, we can talk a lot about 100 years, but that's the main events as I can see them. The current structure is we have 8 independent companies, not independent, but they are acting decentralized, with 9 manufacturer sites. We have about close to 1,000 employees. And net sales, here we are now talking about the first 9 months this year, and it's 2.3 billion SEK. So you can say that this year it's roughly 3 billion revenue, and EBITDA is close to 400 so far up to September. And I would not say anything about the full year, but that is up to this September. And net debt to EBITDA is about 0.5. And if we take the company profile, now we talk about the listed Bergs, or Bergs Timber, and it owns and develops wood processing companies. So it is a very small organization in the listed company. And it is clearly decentralized in all, I would say, most effects, and it has its independent balance sheet, profit and loss responsibility, I should say profit responsibility. We are reporting in 3 main parts, and that's wood protection, joinery and sawnwood. And we are focused, of course, on margins. That's the main. But we see a big potential for growth, both organically and of course, with acquisitions. Guiding principles, it is, again, I'm coming back to this, again, decentralized business units, entrepreneurship, extremely important for us. We like to be entrepreneurs, and we are sort of helping each one to act like entrepreneurs. And that means that we also need to do it simple and fast. Of course, we need to continuously develop things. But then we are not specifically talking a lot of how we are creating, synergies between the companies. It is more to let people to meet and interact and to find each other and to develop, and that in itself is creating synergies, but we're not measuring it. And when you have read and we have made acquisitions, we don't talk a lot about synergies. But of course there are synergies, but we are not. That is not the main. It will come by itself, as I can see it, by this way of guiding principles. Here we are the products we are addressing, and maybe to simplify things, but 4 or 5 years ago it should have been maybe one picture. And now we are into doors and windows. It's cladding. Decking is very important. Different kinds, you will hear a lot about that later. Pellets, garden products, a lot of different kinds. Heat logs, furnitures, different kinds as well, you will see. And aftermarket sales and guidance is gradually getting more and more important. And also the house side of the company. And this is not how we organize it, but it is how we are reporting in these product groups. And as you can see, wood protection is by far the largest one. And then we have joinery, sawn wood, and energy and logistics. And the growth side is mainly in wood protection and joinery. And I would say that joinery may be even the most. Sawn wood, we don't, there will always be some growth, maybe, but we are not, I would say this will, in a few years' time, it will be far less than 33%. So that's mainly to keep up with productivity and do some improvements. Energy and logistics, that is pellets, which is what we acquired in the Fogelfors and also a little bit in Latvia. There we can see some potential of improvements, and the market are improving, but it's not core, and we are evaluating how good it fits in Bergs. And logistics, that's mainly the port in UK Creek Sea, which it's a nice asset, but we don't need it, and we're not looking to buy more ports, but we will see what will happen with it, basically. But it is performing roughly as we have expected it to do. Here is our areas, and we have the production here. A lot of small sites in the UK as well. It's down here with the production, and we have in Latvia, there is 2 dots missing. And then it's Estonia, in Pärnu, the sawmill. And the main markets, that is UK, Sweden, not to forget about Iceland, France, Germany, Holland, Denmark, but this is our main area today. And I would hope that we would have some more production units, maybe increase the area, but this is today's picture. Wood is gaining market shares. I think I've said that for as long as I can remember. But now I think I can say that now it is true. And it has to do with, we are working more with designers and architects, and this is not just Bergs, it's in general. We have been able to get more products which is long durability, it's life cycle. We have fire protection. There is a lot of innovation with gluing and actually building systems, methods which allows wood to be a really competitive alternative for high storage buildings, even for like halls, shops, etc. And that has not been the case. That has gradually come the last, I would say, 5 to 8 years. So this is absolutely taking market shares. And then we have the fact that wood is actually a renewable and sustainable building material, and it stores CO2 for as long as a building stands. But then I'm also aware of the discussions about harvesting and etc. But looking at wood in itself, and that is not questioned by anyone. This is long lasting. So that's why we take market shares. Here are some nice examples of what is possible to create with wood, not just small buildings or terrace boards. And it is actually multi-high buildings, and you can see. Now I'm moving into the part which is more as it is today, and talking about the short-term pricing, etc. And here I'm talking about pricing for wood, and in a way it reflects how it goes for about 1/3 of our company, but it also reflects quite a lot on the results for the wood protection. And I think most of you are looking at this US lumber prices. It is future pricing. It's not today's, it is future, because that's the only available pricing, official pricing in the world. And as you can see, it has been very flat for 10 years. And then we had this huge spike after the COVID outbreak, and was in a way quite unexpected, but so it went. And then it came down as rapidly, more or less. And now we can see it's moving up again. And we had mid-week prices yesterday, and that was a plus, about 15% again. So it's a clear upward trend, and it's several reasons for that. It's less production, there is a good demand. So the expectation is moving upwards. Here is prices in Sweden and Finland. It's not the same official, this is what has been. And we can see it followed the US pricing, it's on its way down. But in my opinion, we will see something similar as we have seen with the US pricing, but at what level, we just have to wait and see. And this is also a fact that construction in Europe, it is still increasing. And we can see the expectations for next year, it's quite good growth. And that in combination with less sawmilling production, as we can see from both in Scandinavia and Germany and Canada, should stabilize the lumber prices at the new level next year, of course. I find this one very interesting. It's the price for concrete, it's for steel. This is long, it's 40 years. And we can see that steel has been coming up. Sawnwood has been very flat. But now finally it came up. And looking at sustainability compared to the other material, the not lack but the limitation of wood, and that demand is strong and it's increasing. I'm quite positive to where this will end, even if we are coming down a little bit again. So then, to summarize the outlook for the market, this is in short term. So we have a continuous good positive demand for wood products. Prices for sawnwood will find a new level. We have to see where exactly, but I think I gave you my impression of what will happen. Looking at Bergs, we have strong order books for next year. We are doors and windows, garden product, and wood protection. It's really better than it has been for some years, still for next year. And we are expecting some good contribution for the investments we have done this year and even next year. So this is how I see the situation today and the summarize of the strategy. So some question on this first part, please. Maybe Don has prepared something.
Yes, I have a few questions, and I would also like to encourage the viewers on the web that we have a live chat, that you are able to put questions there as well. So please go ahead there. But very interesting facts about the price statistics and so on. Reading newspapers and following the market, you get the impression from the media and analysts that sort of the price rally that has been during the 2021 has been rather unique, and that rally is more or less over. You don't feel confident about that in the same way. Would you like to comment on that?
No, of course I agree with that. It has been a rally and that prices has come down. It's just to look at the graphs. But then coming back to the situation with steel and concrete, I mean, wood has been behind in the pricing and has been relatively cheap building material. And now with this market trend for more sustainable products and gaining market shares, I'm of the opinion that it will. I don't think we are coming back to where we were before this very nice increases. It will find a new level, but I would not even.
You sound optimistic.
I am optimistic, and I've not always been optimistic, but I'm really optimistic.
In terms of wood as gaining market shares towards other construction materials, that has also been said for some time. Do you see more clear evidence of that now?
Yeah, it is a fact that we have provided the market with products which is good for again going high heights. It is we are better in there is better colors used. It's less maintenance. We have the protection of fire, and that has regulated so that it's allowed to use wood in many more new applications.
And I remember it's only 15 or 20 years ago then it was no longer when it was not permitted to build higher than 2 stories, and that has dramatically changed, right?
Yeah, I mean today it's quite. I would not say maybe common everywhere, but it's no problem to build 10 stores. And there is 20, even looking at more. So this is fact, and it's the same in like big halls. It is made out of wood in an increasing amount.
Great. I know that you have more to say after the other presentations, so we will hear more from Peter, both in terms of presenting sawn wood, but also in the end of the program. And with that, I think we thank you for this session, and we can present our next speaker, who is Jonny Andersson. And I think it's better that you introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks.
The floor is yours.
Hello. I'm Johnny Andersson. I'm head of sales and purchase of Bitus, the daughter company in Sweden. This is a picture of the site in Nybro, which is one of the largest at one place treatment plants in Europe. As Peter said, he has been in the trade for more years than he remembered. I'm not that far behind. I've been in the trade since 1992 and been with Bergs for the last 5 years. So I'm going to speak a little bit about wood protection. And to start with, Bergs is one of the largest producers of wood protection in Europe. We have sites in Sweden, in Latvia, and in UK. So to start with, what is wood protection? And for me, it's a way to create wood products suitable for the purpose. And what to mean with that is, we need to adapt to add things. We need to add structure, we need to add durability, we need to add colors. We will speak more about that later on. So there is different ways of doing the wood protection. The most common, which you probably all of you have been in contact with, is the NTR treated wood or similar international standards. That's the product that is most used for outdoor construction, for your deck boards. You find it in the building merchant. It's painted cladding, which is in this case industrial painted for outdoor use. It's the Linax that we call, which is the Bergs' own brand name. It's a double treated product that you first do an NTR treatment and then you boil it in linseed oil. I will show you a movie later on that will show that process. Fire protection. Bergs offering an organic treatment for fire protection. That will also be more in detail later on. And of course there is also other alternatives of wood protection like thermowood, organowood, or natural like Siberian larch or so on. That is by nature more sustainable for roof protection. So what is the benefits? It gives a long durability. It adds aesthetic values like texture, like colors. We also use very well tested process that guarantees that the product is and all the ingredients that we are using is well tested and well documented. It's cost effective and it saves time at the building process. This is a small sample of the various applications for wood protection. So it's anything from posts and beams that can be used for garden and for fencing use to garden products, furnitures, nice pool decks and outdoor claddings. This is just a flavor of what can be done. So what we do at Bergs is that we contribute with technology, with know-how and expertise. And we develop this together with our customers and with the architects, institutes, local authorities and other stakeholders that has an interest in this. On this picture I would like to point out the house on the top left, which is in Hovås in Gothenburg, and it's an award-winning design prize for wooden construction office building. And it's used the Linax treatment together with the glulam beams. It's a really nice house. And Also down the right side, we have the roofing on something called Villa Vintertun that was on one of the television shows in Sweden recently. So it's a way to use also cladding on roofing, not only on the walls. So, speaking about the process, first of all, it's important to say that the process is totally in line with the regulations and our environmental goals. And it's an ongoing responsibility to work with this and try to develop also the process to be as cost-effective and environmentally friendly as possible. And the business is also under supervision of regulatory bodies, so we have regulatory controls several times a year. So this is the movie of production. First, you see the site in Nybro. Our electrical powered forklift pick up the wood, taking it to the first autoclave. As you see, we have the sticks between each layer to make sure that the liquid reach all four sides. It goes in. It will be put. This is the, as I said, this is the Linux production. So, first step here is to do the NTR, standard treated. Comes out green, wet. Will be transported into the Linux treatment autoclave. It's secured. It's tilted to make sure that all extra oil is disappearing, and it's getting boiled in linseed oil under vacuum. It takes a couple of hours, and then it comes out. This is the brown color, and the product is ready for use. Some other, I think, great examples of how the product can be used in different applications. Speaking more about the Linux, as I said in the beginning, this is our brand name and our prime product with a double treatment. This specific picture is private housing in Vetlanda in Småland that has used the Linux cladding outside. So what is Linux? As we see it, is a very sustainable choice. It's a great choice also for decking, for cladding, as we said, both on the roof, which is a little bit new thing to use wooden roofing, cladding, normal cladding on the walls, and furnitures. It comes with a very high aesthetic value. It's long maintenance intervals. You need to put oil maybe every 5-6 years instead of every year. It offers a very long service guarantee, up to 50 years protection of rot guarantee. Come with different colors. And we see a very strong demand in this product, so it has enabled us to triple the capacity from 2021 to 2023. So what the Linux offering currently comes with 3 colors. It's brown, it's natural, and it's gray. This is the current situation, and of course we are working closely with the customers, closely with the architects and others to see if we should add colors, how we can redo the building, if we can add to make it easier to use. So we are in constant development of the product in combination with our raw material supply and our production site to maximize the possibilities. Then, as Peter also mentioned, we do the fire protection, and we have in principle, maintenance-free impregnation that protects wood and delay the spread of fire. And here it's important to focus on that. It delays the fire. It gives a lot of increased use cases of wood for residential buildings, higher heights, and so on, that we can use outdoor cladding made of wood on high houses. And that goes very well hand in hand with what the market is, the way the market is going. The product reached the highest protection class possible for wood products. And we see a very strong demand in the market. It's growing quickly for safe and sustainable products. I also have a picture here describing how you do fire protection. I will not go in detail with this, but if anyone has a specific interest, I'm happy to explain it either in the coffee break or afterwards. So, summarizing what is the drivers for wood protection? And first and strong, we see the very quickly increasing interest from architects for designs, for how to use it in new applications. Goes hand in hand with renewable building material. We also see that the governments in various countries is putting regulations on how to use, how much wood should be used, where it should be used, especially for sustainability and fire protected products. And we also see from the customers that it's highly required that we have wood products that require minimum maintenance. So, summarize it, we are very, very optimistic for the future, and with the Linux, the fire protection, and the overall signs we see in the market. So, great future for wood protection.
Thank you, Johnny. I have some thoughts about this. It's very interesting to hear, but in terms of durability, we talk a lot about that. Could you give some example of how long the wood is lasting longer with wood protection, or rather without it?
Absolutely. I mean, some applications would be completely impossible to use without wood protection.
For instance?
If you make for example, you build a nice deck board around your swimming pool, and you have not treated boards, that will probably last for a year.
Okay.
And maybe 2. It will not look very good either. And with this, it will last with wood protection, depending on what kind you do. But if you do the standard NTR, it will probably, without the guarantees, for 20 years. It will probably last for more. Mm-hmm. And if you go for the Linux, for example, where we're offering for cladding up to 50 years guarantee of protection. Yeah. So and big difference.
And the customers are ready to pay this extra premium price. And in terms of the long run, is it a good affair for the clients to?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. In terms of Linux, how long have you been doing that product and marketing that as a unique brand for within Beatus?
Beatus has produced Linux for more than 10 years.
Okay.
It's a process that is. A lot of the production is done in Norway, and it has been a product in Norway for many, many years. So the market there is very big. Mm-hmm. And we see now with the increased request for durability, for long life cycle, and so on, that the demand in Sweden and other countries in Europe as well, that is coming quickly. And so the product is not new, but the growth has increased rapidly over the last
do you have any competition in terms of this double process wood treatment?
Of course, there is competition from Norway. There is one other producer in Sweden, but I think we have to see that we want to move the use of protected wood to a higher level.
Yeah.
So it's not so that the market will be too small. It's more to move from
Making it
basic
easy
to more and more higher added value products.
I think we have some questions from the audience. Would you?
Yes. Hi. So what is the capacity of this Beatus fab today? Do you have capacity to, given that you tripled your production of Linux, how large can you go?
We measure the capacity in cubic meters, so it will increase from 5 to 15.
And where do you see the most potential for this? Is that Sweden, Norway, or is it even Germany, France, UK? Where is the future?
We see the first priority is the Swedish market, but we have a big interest from our UK daughter companies or sister companies to develop it there, where decking is a very big product in the UK. So we are very optimistic about that. Denmark, Germany, so there will be a lot of export coming as well for this product.
Any other questions from the audience? Good. Thank you very much, John.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we will present our next speaker, and that is Valts Kuperniec.
Hello.
And I think also Valts has some can add some European perspective on that last question as well in terms of demands. So
sure.
Please, the floor is yours.
So, I'm talking to speak more about wood protection and Bergs from our side, from Latvia, production. I am representing company Bicolat, which joined Bergs Group 2018. We have 2 production sites and 4 business lines. Started 1993 and from scratch in very old, straight after the Baltic independency, in old Soviet buildings, and many people from that time still with us. So we have a really great, experienced team there. So as mentioned, 4 business lines: woodworking, which is we are not sawmill, we are a planing mill, with similarities with Beatus. Again, with different products, about 70% treated, doors and windows, garden products, and house production. I will mention later on. So, a prime mover in wood protection. As Joni mentioned, we are one of the largest supplier together with productions in Sweden, Latvia, and UK. We are working together with all our many customers all around Europe, and together with Beatus, we contribute with know-how of technology and extensive experience of product performance. So here in the map you see our places where is our productions, and we are not, and this slide describes about all kind of products what we are doing. We are not like a sawmillers. We have in our basket all type of various products like decking boards, claddings, different colors, roof lats or buttons, construction timber, of course, and do-it-yourself products which are partly treated and barcoded and so on. Here in slide you see also our sales per markets, which is a big part traditionally UK, but also France. Sweden is Beatus. Iceland and Northern Europe. And also what we are expanding more and more, it's the Baltic states, because we are in Latvia, we're in middle. We have a very great cooperation with do-it-yourself stores there, and also we are aiming expansion more in Eastern Europe, like Poland, Czechs, and so on. Market and trends. It's clear that the market of wood protection and treatments is changing due to sustainability trend. And as Peter mentioned, wood construction material is increasing as well. Then demand for alternative treatments for long durability. And our primary market segments are builder merchants and do-it-yourself. And as a new second is project sales. So main target for us is the building merchants and do-it-yourself stores compared to the sawmills, which is more kind of more standardized products and probably more focusing to the wholesalers like importers in the selling countries. So primary products is standardized lengths and dimensions. Products delivered according to call-off procedure. Possibility of direct delivery of standardized products to customer site. Special products according to specifications. Increased partnerships and education through the customers. What does this mean? We, compared to the traditional sawmillers as a treatment plants, planing mill, we have a bigger basket of products. So we can target smaller builder merchants who don't have the stocks, who wants in the same load all kind of different products. And that makes a big advantage against the sawmills for us. And also the same is for do-it-yourself. Market size and trends. Again, like I already mentioned it, the trend is that all the merchants and customers would like to be closer to the producer. And the European market is huge. It's about 1 million cubic meter a year, and where the big percentage is treated wood. Depends from markets. Bergs today is about 300,000 cubic meters per year, but this means that the potential for growth is enormous. And especially I would like also Linux we see as a great potential, not just Sweden, where the Bitus will focus, but also Baltics, which is quite traditionally same wooden use as Scandinavia, but just behind and learning. Also, big markets, France, which is for us, Bicolat is big market. And there is one point maybe Joni didn't mention. Linux doesn't lose color as traditional treatment. So traditional treatment looks very similar, brown, greenish, but within a year it's gray. Then Linux is brown for, I don't know, 15 years? Perhaps. So it's more and more trendy that we ship Linux claddings to our factory in Latvia and use for the houses we produce for Scandinavian market and ship back again to Sweden, Iceland, and so on. Wood has increasing applications in construction, city and parks, as well as all kind of infrastructure. Greater requirements such as quality, durability, life expectancy, and certifications is required. Requirements regarding design and aesthetic values are increasing. And yeah, there is another trend we should mention, that demand for certification, for improvements, that for this is environmentally more friendly products are increasing all the time. People are not just happy with the traditional, they just need something, and they are ready to pay for it. Because of course Linux is much more expensive than traditional products, but it is also much more friendly. And that we have to bring that message and work hard to educate, let's say, customers for that. So yeah, this goes again, same future possibilities, develop new products and future brands, focus on marketing and engagement with architects and designers, develop aftermarket offering. This is, yeah, again, a lot of discussions that we have to teach and put the efforts about the treated wood, about all, what is it really. Create new digital tools that facilitate the customer journey. Be an active part of the consolidation of the industry. So, thank you for listening. Any questions?
Yes, Waltz, I have a few questions. You can back to the previous slide, just talking about the possibilities and so on. What types of raw materials is most suitable to use in wood protection? Is it pine or spruce?
In our case, pine.
It is pine.
But in many markets it's used also spruce.
Okay.
Just traditionally. Even spruce is not durable, and you know, in England and then they have special tricks and marketing tricks how to do it, but pine is the real stuff.
Okay. We saw on one slide quite a number of large international customers. How is the customer base looking? Is it primarily large corporations that buy large volumes, or do you sell a lot to small actors as well? Could you please describe a little bit
we sell about, let's say, 50-60%, 50-50. It's also a lot of small customers, which takes maybe one load a month or two. And this is our advantage, because we can also attack and offer small customers all basket of various products, which is maybe competition is not able to do, like sawmills, for instance. Yeah.
In terms of market-wise, are you able to sell everything you produce, or is there a greater demand than you are able to provide, or how is the balance looking?
Normally we can increase 30-40% easily, especially in the season.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we always fully booked.
And in terms of price, do you?
Because it's easy to sell something what the customer want to buy. Yeah. The problem starts when you start to sell what you produce. Yeah.
Sure. And in terms of price, do you see any there is an acceptance in the market for higher raw material price that you have to bring further?
Yeah, we've been through very turbulent times, and we are back again in turbulent zone with all the pricing, because due to all the COVID story, we know. Prices being up to the roof, up to the sky. We never seen unseen prices. So now they are falling down to some new normal level, and it's not ended yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
but in terms of
we hope it will be still good demand also next year.
In terms of possibilities, you are optimistic about what Bergs can do within wood protection.
Absolutely. I didn't mention probably that we see also Bitus as our group's laboratory, where they are working hard with all the kind of investigations, and with scientists, with architects, and developing the product. So, and if the Bitus didn't have enough capacity, so it can be implemented, and we can do also investments. We can do investments and do the same product later on in Latvia too.
Okay, interesting.
That's the possibility.
Any questions from the auditorium? In that case, I think we will conclude this part of the session, and thank you, Waltz, and you will come back later on after the coffee and talk a bit more about products in the joinery segment. But with that, I think we take a coffee break, and what do you say, Peter, 15 minutes or 20? We're back 3:15. Yeah, so we will start again 15 minutes past 3, and I welcome the internet viewers back then also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Hope you enjoyed the coffee break. My name is Anders Marklund and I'm the CFO of Bergs since 3 years back. I have a background in the wood industry in 15 years almost. And before that I have a financial background with the auditing and the consulting services. I will just give you a brief introduction to the joinery segment. And when we are talking about joinery in Bergs, we are in 3 different product areas. It is windows and doors, which is the biggest one. It represents almost 65% of the sales in the segment. Then we have garden products, about 25%. And lastly, we have our house factory in Latvia also that represent a smaller part of the joinery segment. And today, due to the acquisition we made of Performance Timber Products Group in June this year, we have a very strong presence where we have a distribution and sales company. And we are happy to have Jay Pengelly here today. He is the CEO of the company and he will shortly come in and give you a very interesting presentation of the business and the potential also we see with the business going forward. We also have a production of windows and doors in Iceland that partly supply the UK business, but we also have sales to Sweden, Iceland and also the Baltic states. In addition to the windows and doors, we have a broad range of garden products and also the houses. And that will be covered by Waltz after Jay has made his presentation of the windows and doors in the UK. So by that, I welcome Jay. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Anders. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So, my name's Jay Pengelly. I'm the CEO of Performance Timber Product Group. I'd like to take a little bit of time today to introduce the group to you, the brands, give you a brief history, and then touch on the opportunities actually we have going forward, which are quite exciting and I think step outside of the no news category from Peter earlier on. I think there is some exciting news to discuss a bit later. The group itself was established back in 2006 with the acquisition of Mumford & Wood. Our old chairman purchased the business. The business itself is nearly 70 years old. 2009, Timber Windows became part of the PTPG, and at the same time we had private equity backing from a house in London. We bought the Dale Joinery name in 2010, and Stonehouse Corinium, I'll explain a bit more later on how it joins the dots, but is actually one of our Timber Windows customers. Just to give a little bit of context to the market, the timber fenestration market in the UK, roughly around a 600 million turnover, represents timber products about 20% of the total fenestration market in the UK. It's very fragmented. We take about 5% of market share, but there's still a lot of localised or regional, what we would call joiners, men on benches, 2 or 3 staff. So it's quite a disparate market. But they're slowly, with regulations, costs, increased costs, so on and so forth, they become fewer and fewer. So the opportunity to supply or gain more market share is definitely there. We operate over various routes to market, so the different brands themselves. If we start with Timber Windows, is our what we would call retail consumer brand. It's a supplied and fit service through a network of 44 showrooms. Mumford & Wood, very heavily architect and specification driven business, gets involved in quite large commercial projects, Client base of quite a few high net worth individuals and some stunning properties. Dale Joinery is our B2B, pure B2B, through builders merchants, through small and medium-sized quality developers. A lot of self-builders as well, also through Dale, and Stonehouse being a timber windows customer. So I'll just take the brands in a little bit more depth. Mumford & Wood has an enviable reputation in the UK. I say 1954 it was established by two apprentices, Derek Mumford and Dennis Wood. We moved to our current facility in Tiptree in Essex, which is not far from the port in Creeksea, in the mid-90s. We have a well-invested factory, new machinery, new plants going in this year. We also put some more kit back in about 3 years ago. So in terms of plant investment, it's probably one of the best invested within the UK. There's still opportunity on the site to expand the factory, and that's something we will definitely be doing over the next sort of 2 or 3 years for fairly minimal cost. It will gain some benefits in efficiencies and a little bit in capacity, but the business itself is all geared around high quality, complex type projects. Just to give you an indication, Turnberry Resort, owned by an ex-president of the United States, one of the more recent ones. It was a project we worked on about 4 years ago, and you'll see from some of the detail here, contract value of that was just over £1 million. And again, we're very lucky. We have the technical expertise within Essex. We have a workforce of 70 people there, highly skilled, long-standing, very passionate and loyal team that can produce wonderful, wonderful joinery. There's another project in Mayfair, so again, quite big commercial projects that we can get into. A lot of the smaller joiners, the local joiners, can't meet the criteria. These projects happen over a period of time, and we tend to get involved very early thanks to our relationships with the architects and specifiers. And a typical private residence for Mumford & Wood over the years. Some beautiful houses, traditional sash windows, lots of complexity, but they tend to be the go-to manufacturer in the UK. So we are very lucky. In terms of the brand, anybody in the business sector, in the industry, will tend to defer to Mumford & Wood, and it's a reputation, like I say, that has stood the test of time. Dale Joinery is a brand that's been in the industry for about 40 years. We acquired the name back in 2010, so just over 10 years ago. Very much through self-builders, builders merchants, and high-quality small to medium-sized developers. Those developers doing maybe 3 to 10 properties a year, but are seeking out a higher quality build specification. So not the big boys, as we would call them in the UK. These tend to be regional in terms of where they're located, and they've gone about it very much from a service perspective. Quality of product is excellent. The product from Dale comes out of our European supply factories. We have one in Latvia, which is owned by Bergs under Bicolat. And also we have a Polish supplier that we've been working with since 2004. And both Dale and Timber Windows share the same supply chain. So quite common for Dale, like I say, multi-plot developments, high customer retention rate. The timber window and door industry in the UK was plagued for years by poor quality of product, poor service, and by doing what we say we're going to do, we have built up a really solid customer base to enable us just to keep repeat business whenever they have a project. They tend to just pick up the phone, and it's all just about, you know, resolving whatever the design specification it is on those jobs. So we are quite lucky with Dale. Again, nice house there. There's a development of 7 properties, high-end developer based in Sussex, down on the south coast. And a small courtyard development, more cottage style, So average property values anywhere between 300 and 800,000 with regards to the Dale demographic. Primarily new build, a little bit of refurbishment and extension, but primarily, like I say, there's be developers that are utilising their land bank. Timber windows. So timber windows is a retail operation. If you think franchise style model, there's 44 showrooms across the UK. Of the 44, we own 5 under, they were purchased under the Stonehouse Corinium brand back in 2016, although we've lost that name effectively and we run under the timber windows of Cotswolds banner. Supply and fit, 99% refurbishment. We would say Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and we offer an experience that is very alien to replacement timber window and door market in the UK. So the network of showrooms has evolved over the last decade. Back in 2010, there was about 150 customers buying product from timber windows. And under the guidance of our sales and marketing director, the model got changed and we've hunkered down effectively behind a number of key customers that were prepared to invest in showrooms, change the way that timber windows and doors are taken to market. And over the last decade, we've gone from 10 showrooms to 44. We believe there'll be another 4 showrooms that we open in 2022. All of those will be owned by others, not by ourselves, so there's no immediate plan for us to extend within the Stonehouse zone, if you will. So you can see from that map where we are located in the UK. London has a handful of showrooms on the outskirts, and there's still plenty of opportunity within the UK. We've identified at least 20 other locations that we'd like to put showrooms in over the next 4 or 5 years. Some will be company owned, some will be our customers. And what we've seen over the years is those customers with one showroom within their territories, they've opened satellite showrooms. We do know where people have travelled. We spend a lot of time looking at the data, our customer base, and how we can maximise those opportunities. So we've ended up with these beautiful showrooms in generally smaller market towns, prominent positions, brand recognition, and owned by people that are as passionate about timber as we are. The supply chain, as I've touched on, we've been working with our Polish suppliers since 2004, since the inception of timber windows, and our Latvian partners in Bicolat since 2007. So long-standing relationships there. And part of the future plans is increasing the capacity. And there's opportunity within both of our suppliers to do that. So just to give you a flavour for the internal fit out. So beautifully presented product. It is absolutely critical as part of our business model to get people into showrooms. Buying timber windows and doors is something people are only likely to do once, twice, maybe 3 times in a lifetime as a private buyer. And it's about offering them that experience. So getting them into the showrooms, getting them to play with the product, the feel, being able to talk to experts within the fenestration field, it's a big thing for us. So there's nobody in the UK that has got the level of showrooms that we've got. There's the odd 1 or 2 scattered around, but we certainly have the largest network. Nationally recognised. All of the showrooms tend to carry the timber windows of, and we add the town above there. And we as part of our support package to our dealers, will be offering all of the marketing support. We have an IT infrastructure, which I'll show you very briefly in a second. So we add the value all the way through. As a business, it's a cash generative business. Payment terms are favourable in terms of, we're dealing with customers. It's a bespoke product. They pay up front. So again, it's good for all of our business partners, the dealers, because it keeps them cash positive at all stages. This is our latest showroom in Cirencester, so it's the business we own. For those of you that are sort of familiar with the UK geography, the Cotswolds, Cirencester sits in there, so a beautiful part of the country. Out of there we operate 4 other showrooms from Henley to Oxford, Moreton in the Marsh and Cheltenham. So all beautiful towns, lovely architecture and high population of residential customers. We also have a warehouse underneath where we deal with all of the products, and this is a business, as I say, we bought in 2016. It had been a timber windows dealer since 2005, so it was an early adopter of the model and the product. As a business in its own right, was fairly average, turned over £1 million, broke even, and spend levels with timber windows were in the region of about 300,000 a year. And a key reason for buying the business was to help us develop the model, or the blueprint we would call it. So we have a fantastic network of customers, but we felt we ought to have our own money invested in, live some of the pain, understand how we treat our customers, how the market reacts, and as a test bed for things like our IT development, for product, and also to hone the model. And what it's done over the last 2 or 3 years is, as we've moved that business forward, so broadly it's a £4 million business, spending 6 times the amount, so nearly £2 million with timber windows, under our tenure in the last 5 years. So it's a great success story, but it's also visible to our other dealers and the other showrooms. So it helps us reinforce the message when we talk about developing showrooms, what areas to go in, because people can look at our model and see what we've done and they ask questions. It's quite hard sometimes to talk to some of our customers when they're spending £50,000, £80,000 opening a showroom to get them how you want it. It's not a BMW franchise or an Audi where you're just told this is what you do. So we have very close relationships, but they've noticed how we're running the business. And of course, what we're seeing now is more and more people opening showrooms that are looking identical. So we are starting to get this real theme across the network. It's a little picture there from our showroom in Henley. Again, case studies in all of our literature, the website. We defer to case studies, testimonials. We're in the business of making customers happy at the end of the day. We supply fantastic products across the country, great team of installation crews, and we like happy customers, and they're the best advocate. About 30% of business comes from recommends, word of mouth, so that's something that we need to keep up. I touched on our IT infrastructure. Back in 2004, the inception of Timber Windows, we have our own system called Aperture that's evolved over the years. Basically, it's a cradle-to-grave system. So it handles everything from new inquiries in from our website, quoting. So all of our customers, the showrooms, have access to the system. So they can do the quotes at their own leisure. It's not dependent on masses of resource within our business. And on busy days, there can be 100 quotes, 120 quotes, 150 quotes done across the country at any time of day and night. So it gives them ownership to be able to treat and handle their customers within their own service parameters. Orders are placed, jobs are processed, so all parts of our business utilise the system. Our supply chain utilises the system. So when orders are sent to them, they pick them up. We run our logistics, all of the operational stuff from there. It gives us fantastic detailed reports, margin analysis, live management information, everything you could possibly want from a system. And so all of the stakeholders have access to it on a daily basis. Once people have seen the literature, they've been to the showroom, it's keeping up that presentational level. So just as aesthetic, but these are the quotes that go out to our customers. So again, beautiful pictures, clear, concise information, very different to the competition. Most of the competition operate from a manufacturing system. We've developed this system purely as a consumer facing. When it goes to the factories, they'll deal with loading it onto the machines and the CNC coding. So again, clear, concise information, but presentationally very in line with what we do as a business. So, in terms of the future of timber windows, it's a model we've honed a lot over the years. We firmly believe we can expand not only in the UK, where there's still plenty of opportunity, but internationally as well. People buy timber windows and doors all over the world. Different countries have different methods in terms of how they buy things, whether that's direct with a carpenter or a joiner, whether they buy them through a retail outlet. But there's buildings going up across Europe, across the States, and other parts of the world. So for us, we've already committed to in-depth market research. We are scheduled to open our first 2 European showrooms in 2022, one in Stockholm and one in Gothenburg, Solsjöborgen. Forgive the pronunciation if it's not quite right. Celtis, I believe, is the shortened version. Properties have been identified, work starts on them in January. They should be open late Q1, early Q2. So it's a big step for us. With the commercial research that's currently just been instigated, we've also committed to opening in 5 other European locations in 2023. So we are coming to town. There's a couple already in Sweden, obviously, that operate, Mockfjords and Morpus. You know, we've had a look at what they do there. We certainly believe the model we've got and the level of experience will be at the top end of the market. That's where our brands sit, all of our brands across whichever route to market. But for us, you know, we do believe we could double the revenues of the business, of the group, PTPG, within the next 4 years. And we're certainly on a plan to have 100 showrooms across the UK and Europe within a similar time frame. So we're fully committed to that. And with the support of Bergs, it's the opportunity we've been waiting for a while. So being part of the family, they're keen to support, both in terms of resource, the financial side, but also capacity, because that is a key thing for where we are. Our lead times have been extended for a while. There's a development currently in Latvia, a €2 million investment to add another building and some more plant, which will increase production out of Valmiera 50% within the next 5 years. Our Polish partners have the opportunity to double their capacity within the next 3 years, and on both sites there's still further opportunity. So the capacity isn't particularly bothering for us. We know we can do that with our current supply chain, but it would not preclude us from also looking at other opportunities if they're geographically the correct thing to do. Transporting things across Europe into the States, clearly we need to look at how we manage that. So it's an exciting future for timber windows, for the group as a whole. All of the brands have a fantastic opportunity. The market at the moment has been buoyant since 2020 for obvious reasons. But one of the key stimulus that most economies go back to is the housing market. If the housing market is moving, people are spending money. There's a report out a couple of days ago that they reckon by the end of next year, 1 in 16 properties in the UK will have changed hands. At the moment, there's 24 buyers for every property that's for sale. So there's not a lot, you know, there's plenty moving, but there's still not a lot there to support what the market demand is. What that ultimately means for us, people will stay in their houses. They'll start to renovate, they'll start to extend. So we're ideally placed, whether places are being built, whether they're being renovated, PTPG is in the right position to be able to maximise that. Acquisition opportunities do exist. We will see whether they fit our strategy over the coming 3 or 4 years. But yeah, in order to push on, capacity, like I say, investment has already started. And with the market research, which we would hope by the middle half of next year, will enable us to appoint the appropriate resources to enable the 5 European countries that we identify as the prime opportunities to open during 2023. The plan from there would be, we run them for a year, we will run them ourselves, they will be company owned, it is the right thing to do in a new market, so we understand it. We will also identify another 5 that we'll go into in 2024. So we're not afraid to tackle the new markets. The product across Europe, there's a lot of similarities, and with having a European supply chain and our own manufacturer in England, we believe we can support that without too much of an issue. Hopefully that's given you a flavour of what we're about as a business, what the opportunities are, as I've just identified. I think for everybody within the group, they're excited. Bergs is passionate about timber. That sits very well with us. We believe their acquisition of PTPG was the right owners. You know, we thought that for a long period of time. You know, we have known each other for a while. And it will unlock the potential that we haven't had over the last few years just due to the ownership structure. So it is pretty much full steam ahead as far as we're concerned, and look forward to seeing you hopefully at the new showroom early part of next year. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Jay.
It's all right.
Yeah, any questions from the auditorium? Please, if you have any, just mention. Very interesting, Jay. A few questions.
Yeah, sure.
To conclude, the Mumford & Wood and the Dale are sort of business-to-business operations.
Yeah.
And Timber Windows is more business to consumer. And normally there's could be difficulties in obtaining recurring business and so on in towards private customers. But you mentioned high rate of recommendations and so on.
Yeah.
Is that, do you see any challenges with this division between consumer and business clients within the group?
No, I mean, we are quite lucky because the routes to market are fairly distinctive in our customer base. We have minimal crossover. Occasionally it crops up, but very much in the Bergs way, if you will, the businesses work autonomously. So ultimately the businesses within, you know, can make their own decisions, commercial decisions on those jobs. Generally you will hear about whether they're competing against one another, and you know, ultimately as long as they make the right commercial decision, we'd sooner have 2 horses in the race than 1 or none. So, but it's fairly infrequent.
Mm-hmm. I have seen some pictures from interesting client events that you have in racing. Okay. and motoring and so on. Could you just give the audience a slight example of what type of environment that you would like to be visible in? It's
a very collegiate network. In terms of the 44 showrooms, there's 26 business owners. A lot of these have been with us for 10 years or longer. So there's very, very close relationships. The owners of those businesses are actively involved in them on a daily basis. So the interactions are, you know, several times a week, if not daily, with various members of our teams, whether that's senior members, whether that's people that are processing orders. So it's very much it's an extended family. We bring our dealers together generally twice a year. And the great thing is, our trading terms are identical for everybody. There's no benefits to certain dealers and not others. And they can talk very openly. And over the years, they've built their own relationships. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the commitment from the network is huge. Taking leases on property, you know, 10-year leases, 50, 80, 100,000 pounds to open a new showroom. We commit to all of the product, we commit to marketing support, but they are in this for the long term. You know, it is absolutely a partnership, and I say 26 business owners is not a lot.
But also 100% of what you produce and sell are bespoke and
everything is made to measure. There's no stock items at all, so every order specific.
Having seen pictures of those buildings, one would assume that there would be errors and remakes and so on. Could you?
Yep. Yeah, we make bespoke product. So each of the businesses will have their own surveyor, and occasionally they get things wrong. People write the numbers down the wrong way. It's just sometimes on refurbishment, it's not until you knock it out you actually realise what's behind there. It's just part of renovation. But in terms of the number of remakes, and the customer pays for these, as in the dealer pays for them, we support them with obviously a discount, because it's not about making profit on the remakes. It's very, very small, you know, very, very small. Our best dealers, their surveyors, if they make 2 mistakes a year, they will beat themselves up. So it's highly professional. You know, these are guys that have been doing this for lots and lots of years. So, you know, that ultimately, selling the product, utilising the marketing, the showrooms, is, you know, that's the exciting part. Where people and the businesses make their money is in fitting it correctly. So there's a lot of time and focus that goes on to that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jay.
That's okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we will continue with the program, and we have produced things within the joinery section for some time in other companies, and to continue that description, I will introduce Waltz once more to continue the presentation about joinery. So, please.
Yeah, hello again. I will continue with the products we produce in our group, and these are the garden products. Here you see some samples, general like garden furniture, fence panels, wooden swimming pools. These are the main products we produce in our factory in Latvia. Especially very interesting product would like to mention is the wooden swimming pool. We are only producers in Baltics. I think there is only few producers for the customer, and mainly they are sold in France. More than 100 trucks per year, different models, and interesting that all type of components are delivered from many different countries, assembled, put it together in Latvia, and then sent it back to the warehouses to mainly France. So up there is our main markets. The biggest, far biggest do-the-door pools is France, a lot. UK, for UK we keep landed stock, which means that customers can order from stock with delivery time 2 weeks. Norway, there we are mainly working together with chains, stores, and of course many other. So here is the shows the diversification per products. Big product also is the glued stairs. Maybe we seen it in the stores like in Sweden also. They are for the steps for the decking. It's a big product we produce also in our factory. Regarding opportunities, we are also normally fully booked, and the market in Europe is huge for those products. And what we are focusing is the quality, competing with mainly with the Polish factories. We are more in the volume, but our strength is the quality and servicing. The new product what we developing together with Woodworks by Bergs is this radical wood. It's interesting furniture. It's still more or less like custom made. But what we are working together to make the more industrialize this product. And what's interesting, again, this is the Linux treated. Yeah, so it's much more durable. In future also we are looking and working to implement to the market more Linux treated products, which could be quite interesting as well in future in the market. Windows and doors. Our main customer is Jay, already explained everything very well, and we are the guys who produce them. And been a long journey, say more than 10 years. We started with from scratch with one track a month or 2 months, and now we are the something like 3 tracks a week. And we can say, like Jay mentioned, that this is all custom made. We are like a big product, not showroom, but no, I mean there is nothing produced on stock. All it's custom made. We also produce. The UK is the biggest market, but also we produce for Iceland traditionally. These are more like we call it Scandinavian style outside opening. It's more like an old Danish type of windows, a bit more massive. And the new brand, a new style what we produce is the modern cultural windows for Sweden, which are by having experience from UK production are really the high quality and really developing market for us. And the 4 business line is houses. Here you see the vacation houses, Atefal houses. Again, all the best materials, high quality materials used, it's mainly the Swedish market together with Woodworks by Bergs. All this is certified and for the Swedish market. And as another line in our house production is the residential houses. Like mentioned, it's a lack of housing all over the Europe. And of course there is a competition, the big building companies who make big projects, but we are focusing and aiming smaller projects. And here you see the module houses, fully made in factory, shrink wrap, delivered to the place. 1, 2 stories multi-flat houses, finished in 2 weeks in Iceland. And again, it's a high quality finishing in joint work together with some furniture producers like IKEA, for instance. We delivered those houses already installed kitchens inside because IKEA is everywhere IKEA, so the people who buys it, they can always repair it or increase it. So due to many times to listen, it's always the better to see one time. So maybe we can show the film of our production.
Exactly. I think we actually have a film, 5-6 minutes or so, that gives a very good explanation of Valt's business, and and after that we can continue with questions. So we will run the film and you can see for yourself.
All right.
Thank you.
Factory in Latvia. It's just 3-4 years. It's a new direction, the wooden houses. This is our new office. Also built it ourselves. So shows the possibilities, what we can do in our production. These are our engineers who engineer all the houses using AutoCAD, special programming for the housing. So the all houses are designed this way. all details, and then it's sent to the machines to pre-cut and assemble in the factory. So here you see the models produced for the one building. So one flat could be 2-3 modules. So the high quality machinery used, like a Hundegear, speed cut, robots to pre-cut all the details. Any piece is marked and then it is assembled as a Lego. This is the looks like roof element. Yeah, already in the factory with all the bituming. So the finishing under the roof in factory gives a lot of quality and avoids any weather problems on site, and also controlled costs and controlled quality, which is quite important for any investors and usually a problem in building sites. All the exhaust systems, electricity, you see also heating systems with pressure. And we see as a great opportunity to increase this business due to the lack of the housing, especially targeting segments where the big building companies are less interested, like smaller projects, like more local projects. So we can use all the materials we produce ourselves, like windows, construction timber. That is the kitchen. I mentioned it in good cooperation with several makers, also IKEA. So everything is installed and ready for use after arriving. So nothing is done at building site. Everything is controlled and quality done in factory. So any market could be implemented. This is for Iceland, this house, but it could be Sweden or UK, any European market in future. So this is our door and window production, where all the goods are produced for, also for UK. About 20% doors and about 80% is windows. High quality machinery. All the CNCs, but of course still a lot of handwork as well. Which gives us again advantage against the big factories who are just producing for stocks and so on. This is a specialty job, yeah? So it needs a lot of know-how and experience. That's our advantage and strength. So the painting is only Technos paints, water-based, so again requires a lot of finishing and so on. These are Scandinavian windows, more massive, and here we already see the UK products. This is especially the quality area where every window is checked before the delivery. Washed and marked as ready for delivery. Here we see our Attifal houses, which we are working together with Woodworks by Bergs. And see the quality and the finishing is our priority and the main focus. Different designs. So this is the growing market as additional house, as a holiday home, and so on. So it's delivered shrink wrapped, as I said, you know, and in cooperation with local building companies who make the foundations, and the house comes, let's say, in the morning, and in the evening it's ready for use, basically. As you see, the very classical Swedish designs. And we have a showroom near to Arlanda Airport. Yeah. So, and that's how the houses are packed, ready for delivery for the ferry boat, or we can ship the similar way also, say 20 houses for like a containers for the flats.
Thank you very much, Mats. So after this, if you want to buy Attifal house, you can log into Woodworks.
Woodworks by Bergs.
Yeah, perfectly. We have a few questions on the internet, some regarding the PTPG presentation, and we will answer that later on in the Q&A session. But also one question to you, Waltz, and that is regarding the, is it possible to increase the house production capacity over the few years?
Yeah, that's the plan we have,
okay.
to double it.
To double it.
Within 3-4 years.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Cool. Thank you very much, Waltz.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And with that, we will continue with Peter, who will talk about the business area sawn wood. So, please.
Back to basic. No showrooms. But this is the base for all the other products that comes from the sawmills. And after the sale of the Swedish sawmills, we have 2 sawmills left, and that's in the Baltics, and it's one is in Latvia, which is Vika wood, and the other one is Laist in Pärnu, Estonia. And this is quite different from what was used with the Swedish sawmills, which was very much a commodity, or strength graded for builders merchants and for house builders. This is more for industrial use. And we have no further processing, but we have a different cutting program, which makes it very useful for glulam and for specific industrial use, special kiln, etc. Very flexible raw material sourcing, and of course it comes quite a lot from Latvia and Estonia, but we are also having very good contacts in Lithuania, Belarus, partly from Norway, and actually even from Sweden. We started that when we sold the Swedish sawmills. We could start to import from Sweden. And of course we're very close by the ports. So we have a good situation. They are very well located. The total capacity, or not capacity, but production is 350,000 cubes annually. And if we put that into perspective, that the Swedish mills we sold had a production of 500,000 cubes. 350 left. And we are annually sourcing something like 450 to 500,000 cubes. So this is a little bit less than we're using internally. And out of this 350, about 40 is going internally. So we have a lot of external sales. So it is like a hedge for what we need in the rest of the production. But still, it is they are a strong contributor to the group, and Vika is very well invested and high effective. It's like a absolutely top mill comparing Germany, Sweden, and Finland. So we have put a lot of money into the mill and continue to do so. Leist is less well invested, but it is really focused on small logs and has specialized in that direction. I would show you the picture later on. And it is, especially Leist, the Estonian mill is contributing by delivering to Valls and to Bykkulat. So there is some quite strong connections. And especially Vika has really a proven profitability. Looking back 10 years, I would say they have all been pretty good. And now they are absolutely doing very well a year like this. It's strong profitability. And it's enough size to be for the sourcing of the raw material. For example, Vika stands for about 10% or a little bit more than the actual annual production in Latvia. So it has an importance. And again, it is like a hedge for what we're buying, a profitable hedge. And here we can see the site of Vika, it's a large site. And we own actually quite a lot of land. And with today, there is no further processing, but there is a possibility that we could actually start some kind of glulam or CLT production, but we are not in that moment to decide anything, but there is a possibility to the sawmilling production, and the kilning capacity is absolutely geared up to do that in the long run. And the next big project here is to build a big new boiler, we need a lot of energy for the kilning, and we are doing that by our own bark and sawdust, and that is now in the plan, and that will be with electricity turbine as well. So the plan is to be actually self-sufficient even with electricity in Vika in about 3 years' time. And then if we look to Leist, Estonia, it's a smaller site, but it's also smaller production. And we bought some more land there to secure a little bit of expansion, but I would say that we are doing it with very limited investments and no big plans for changes. It's more to wait and see what happens, but Vika has absolutely potential going forward. So I think that's the shortest part of our presentations today, but perhaps.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions about Peter's presentation? Yes, please.
I was wondering, could you tell us a bit more about the flexible sourcing you mentioned in the Baltics, and why that is different from the sourcing you previously had in the Swedish market?
Yes. In both Estonia and Latvia, it is done in a different way. I mean, in Sweden, especially in South Sweden, we are buying logs on quite long terms. So there the mills are owning standing forest for maybe for 6 or 9, at least 6 or 9 months of production. And they are fixed, the prices are fixed, and it's a long commitment, and of course very risky in many ways, even if it secures the supply of logs. Here we are doing it by about 40% each. It's done from the state forest in Estonia and Latvia, and it's a little bit like an auction, but it's fixed for 3, maximum 6 months. And the rest is bought on the open market from different log companies who buys from a lot of small forest owners. And then we buy from at the gates. And there we have a pricing which is normally maybe each load or maximum 1 month. So we have no logging operation ourselves. We don't have any log buyers or forest buyers out in the forest. And this makes, of course, the lead time much shorter, and it's follow the cycles much more effective. And then, of course, we have the import as well. So it's a really big change from or difference from what we have in Sweden.
Could you say that there's a closer correlation between the price you are buying and the price you are selling it for?
It's a absolutely very big difference. So maybe we are like 2 months, maximum 3 months, whereas including all stocks, it could be up to 1 year of priced logs, comparing the two business models.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Then I thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, then we will welcome Anders back. We will talk about sustainability issues and, of course, the most interesting part of everything, the hard facts and figures. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Sustainability is, of course, on everybody's mind at the moment and will be for a long while. And of course, Bergs would like to be received or one of the companies really have a good agenda for working with sustainability and make it very clear for us what to do. And I mean, it's very important for you also as investors or banks or other stakeholders to feel safe that we are really working with this area. And we have established a platform within Bergs working with sustainability and really make it happen. And we are currently also refinancing the company, and that will be announced when it's ready, but we will most probably link also the financing to our sustainability goals. That will also put some pressure on us to deliver on our sustainability strategy. And of course, we also need to be prepared also for the future requirements that will be definitely in place quite soon regarding the ESG area. Last year we adopted a new sustainability strategy, and we also appointed a group sustainability manager, and that's Johan Eliasson, which is actually here today, present. And he is responsible to make this happen. It's just not just for the board to decide on strategy. We need to do things happen, and that will be made in our companies in the group. And we have set up goals on targets that we should meet. And from that, it's very important that we have good action plans in the companies with activities to reach those targets. And then that is one of Johan's main responsibilities, I would say, to keep good contact and also offer support and guidance also to the companies. Looking at the areas that we are working with is how we source our raw material, where we buy that from. I will explore a little bit more on that. It's about our fossil emissions, how we work with that. It's about our value chains in our production. And it's about our working places and the safety issues. And it's also about core values and ethics. And some of the targets that we have set is that 80% of our procured wood should be certified. And by certification, we mean the two main certification bodies, which is PEFC and FSC, which is well known to many people. We should also reduce our work-related accidents by 50% to 2025. And we should be zero for fossil emissions by 2030 in our own industry that we can impact. The big impact in our industry is mostly transports to our industry and out to the customers. And that we cannot completely decide ourselves, but we can put pressure on our suppliers, transporting companies, and work in partnership for that. And these are the targets that the board has decided on. The first one, that we should have more than 80% of the timber supply certified by 2024. And the current volume certified was end of last year 59%. Still a way to go. And talking about the fossil-free world, we should be fossil-free in our own industry by 2030. And that I would say is mostly in our own industry. It's internal transport, which is the main polluting thing. And they're working with electric forklifts, for example. We have solar panels that we're investing in. And we have different kind of renewable petrol or diesel that we are running on. And the big challenge, I would say, is the scope 3, as it is called, the external input from transport companies. We should be resource efficient in our industry, zero wood waste and zero pollution to groundwater, and I would say that we are almost there already. A bit to go, but very close. And then the safe and equitable workplaces, reduce the number of accidents, and also have a more gender distribution among employees. And we also think working with ethics and core values is very important also, and that will also be part of the actions taking place. Important also to say, this sustainable strategy also needs to be a part of the business strategy. It's not something that lives besides each other. This should be integrated in every company's strategy and everyday work, I would say. That's a very important message. So by that, if no questions, I think I'll move on to the financials. As Peter mentioned, we adopted new financial goals in March this year. We have stated that we should have a growth over 10% over business cycle, organically and through acquisitions. We should have an EBITDA margin over 9% over business cycle. We should have a financial net debt lower than the equity. And we should distribute between 25% and 40% of the net profit over the year. And compared to the previous financial targets that we have raised the ambitions regarding growth and the EBITDA margin. So more focus on them and on a higher level. So how have we been able to meet those targets so far? Looking up to the left, that is the development of net sales the last 6 years. 2021 is the rolling 12 months until September. And you can see it has happened quite a lot in the group, so it's a little bit difficult to measure exactly how it has been. We made the big acquisition of Nordic companies in 2018, and 2020 we sold the Swedish sawmills. But you see in 2021 we had an extraordinarily good year with a high growth, mainly related to higher sales prices, as you have seen in the statistics that Peter showed earlier on. Looking at the EBITDA margin, we have been close to 10% over the average year, 5 years before 2021, when we have a great year, and up to 2021 we have a margin of almost 18%, so it's more than double than our target. Looking at the dividend distribution, I think 2017 was the first year in 10 years it was a dividend distributed from the company. But we have been able to distribute every year except 2019 with the COVID decision that was made. And last year we made a quite big dividend, 40% of the net profit. And the net debt to equity ratio, we see that we are currently very low leverage, maybe too conservative at the moment. But we are well positioned to deliver on the strategy that we are discussing today. And how should we deliver on the financial ambitions? Yeah, of course, the margin is very important for us. It's just not the growth, but we also must keep an eye on the margin. And one important measure is also to reduce the volatility in the business, and that's why we also left the sawmilling business and move into the value-added products, which over time has a more stable margins and earnings, and also cash flow. We should have the discipline in the capital allocation. We should use the investments that makes the best gain for us. And of course, investing for organic growth, but also all the time reviewing acquisition opportunities. So, how should we receive the growth that we are aiming for? That should be organically and through acquisitions. We have communicated, and we still have about 500 million in investments that we have identified to grow organically the coming years. And as I said, also we are always looking for acquisition opportunities. And this is a conceptual slide to show where we are today and what we see in the future. And these are the building blocks that we are looking for. That we are looking for organic investments, capacity investments in wood protection. And you heard also about Jay's expansion possibilities with timber windows. We will also invest for additional capacity within the garden product segment. The growth on the sawmills will be more limited, as normally the raw material supply doesn't allow to grow very fast. It will both affect by availability of logs, but also it will be more expensive to buy those logs. And just to illustrate also that we're looking into new areas as well. And one of them is, you might seen that we made a decision to invest 25% in wood tube, which is a startup, which produces a stud in the paper for interior walls, where we see a great potential, and we're really hoping for that to be very good. And that's one example of the innovation part of this. So what have we made and what are we planning at the moment? We have decided and partly done also some capacity investments We are currently investing in the windows and doors manufacturing at Bergs factory in Latvia, 2 million euros, and that will allow us to increase the capacity by 50% the coming 5 years. We investing 25 million SEK in Linux production in Nybro, as Johnny was talking about, from 5,000 to 15,000 cubic meters a year. We have just concluded an investment in our sawmill Vikavood in Latvia to improve the productivity. That was 25 or almost 30 million Swedish crowns. We're also in the plans looking to build more capacity in the wood protection area with new planers in Vitus and mainly Bykkolat, I would say. We're also planning to build a new production building at our garden factory in Latvia as well. That will significantly increase the capacity. And we're also looking at extending the present wood protection plant or treatment plant in Bykkolat in Latvia, and also considering to do something in the UK as well. So these are organic investments that we are planning or have already done. We will also expand the timber windows concept. We also see a good future in investing in digital solutions to help our customers to choose and buy our products in a better way than we are doing currently. We are investing quite a lot of money in that currently in the RA tool. And we will also invest in productivity improvements, and one example of that is what Peter mentioned, that we are planning in the Vikavood sawmill about a combined heat and electricity plant. And that could be one up to 15 million euros, so it's quite a lot of money. But we have the financials for do that. We have a low leverage, and we have identified a number of good projects which are in plan. So we come back to later on when we have the decisions in place. And also acquisition, as I said, also is in addition to the organic growth. And the criteria for those should be that it's a proven profitability and sustainable business. We are not looking for turnarounds. We rather pay more for good objects rather than having the cheaper turnarounds. It should be opportunity for growth and add-ons in those companies. And of course, very important, also align with our company values and also in our geographical areas. As you have seen, we are very concentrated in the Baltics, Europe, Scandinavia, and the UK. That are the geographies we are looking for. And one case study that we are really happy for, I mean, this has actually been a dream acquisition for us. There has been a long relation between Bykkolat and PTBG in the UK for over 10 years. They have been supplying in the UK. And this acquisition has been discussed for rather a couple of years. But this year it could happen, and we are really, really happy for that. What do we do? What do we see in this? Yeah, we can say that this is a very scalable business model that Jay has described. And we also have the possibility to do that, and that will definitely help us to grow the company. It also helps us to learn from the company and take that to other markets. And one example is the Swedish Woodworks by Bergs, which are selling the windows and doors in Sweden now. And we'll open 2 showrooms in Sweden, as Jay described. We're also moving forward in the value chain. We are really close to the retailers with this acquisition. And also that we, with this acquisition, also could make the investment in Latvia to increase the production. I'm not sure we could have done that without this acquisition, actually. So that's, I think it's a very good example of what we're looking for. Just some short comments on the current trading that we are in. And of course, you have seen the Q3 report. And as you have seen, the last 2 quarters has been astonishing for us. Looking at the net sales, we had a considerable growth. Q3 was actually 62% up compared to Q3 to 2020. Most of the growth is attributable to higher sales prices, but also higher volumes, especially in the joinery segment. And if you look at the EBITDA development, also it looks astonishing the last 2 quarters. Of course, mostly related to higher sales prices. And looking at the different reporting segments, wood protection, which is the biggest one, we can see the similar development as the group actually, with the considerable good markets in Q2 and Q3 of this year. And that also reflects in the EBITDA margin as well. And we should keep in mind also that the raw material for wood protection is sawn wood, and you have seen the development of sawn wood prices. But this actually means also that we have been able to push on those prices to our customers. So we have actually been able to increase the margin. The joinery segment, the increase in net sales Q3 is actually attributable to the acquisition of Performance Timber Group. That was reported from the 1st of July. And here you can see a different pattern in the margin, which is more stable over time. We don't have those volatility prices, selling prices and raw material prices like the other segments. And one good example is the Q3 report. The hike up of the margin is actually attributable to the acquisition of PTBG also. That really helps us also to raise the margin for a group. Sawn wood, it's like the pattern in wood protection. Extremely good last 2 quarters. And then we should also remember in Q3 we had a stop for over 1 month with investment in Vika wood. So it could have been even better if we had kept on producing. We have an EBITDA margin over 30% the last quarter. Many of the sawmills that you may have seen that has been more oriented towards UK and especially the US are reporting EBITDA margins over 50% at the moment, which is unseen levels of margins. One disappointment for us has been the energy and logistics area, which is the pellet business and the port business. Last year was very tough regarding pellets, with an oversupply, low demand, and very decreasing prices. But you see in Q2 this year, the market has changed. And currently, I think we have an extremely strong market for pellets. So we will definitely have higher margins the coming quarters in this business line. That is also related to the electricity prices we have in Europe today and the electricity situation that helps us. And the prices on pellets has not far than doubled from this summer actually. So it will help us definitely the coming months. But overall not performing as we would like. And my last slide before Peter will summarize the day and have the final remarks. This is our financial situation, where this is the financial net debt and the net debt to equity ratio. Let's see, we are very low leveraged. As I said, too conservative leveraged. But we have plans, as I have described. One comment that I would like to make, that we have so far this year had an astonishing year. But if you look at the cash flow from operation, that was even negative until September. And that, as an investor, you might get feared about that. What is happening? Is there any problems? But you see a big change in working capital, and that we had this extremely strong development of selling prices and purchasing prices as well, means that the accounts receivable and stock values are skyrocketing. So it requires more working capital actually to run the business with high prices. We don't have higher stocks than we had last year. It's the same volume, but the price is almost so much higher. But this means that when the prices now are coming down, that working capital will also be released. So Q4 will definitely be better, and next year also we see a good contribution also in the cash flow. So no worries about the cash flow. And we also have sufficient funds also to develop the business. I think I stop there.
Thank you, Anders. By the school book. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think also possible questions could be linked with Peter's final comments as well.
Absolutely.
So I think we welcome Peter back for his final remarks. Thank you.
Are you still in the mood to listen? Good. Now, of course, this needs to be some repeats from what has been said. That's the only way to do it. But I will summarize part of the strategy and what we're doing, and then we can have some more questions. But when we have made the new strategy and put out our plans, we have looked at some trends. And it is for sure that there is high activity in the construction and renovation, and it needs to be. There is a big demand for building. And Jay had one example from the UK. I would say it's the same in Sweden and in US, for example. And there is a strong demand for renewable products, which wood is a very good example of that. And there is a favorable economic growth on our main markets. And the global competition needs or requires operational excellence, which means that can't be too small, need to grow. To keep up with the competition. And then we look on the customer's needs or requirements. It's long-lasting quality products, as we have described with wood protection, for example. It's getting more in that direction to long-lasting, pay a little bit more. I mean, less looking after it, long-lasting. And very important, certified value chains. I mean, certificated raw material, the production chain delivers everything certified to guarantee of course, the quality, but also coming into sustainability. It's an absolute need. And bespoken products, that's the route we are going in, that we are not that much in commodities anymore. It's less and less. It's more market trade names, and we are. Bergs is Bergs. Bergs is not a trademark, by the way, but it's. I mean, our product should be a bit unique in one way or another, not competing with big volumes. Digitalization, we have definitely not been on the front edge of that, especially not with the sawmills, but this is coming very quickly and fast, and it's not only with doors and windows, but it's also in our other areas. And at the moment we are putting quite big investments into learning, but also actually to do things. And this is something we need to accelerate, and we are doing it as well. And then, of course, again, the renewable products. That's the two things we have been very much studying, and we have come to the conclusion of the strategy. And then, of course, we need growth, but we also need to increase the margins. As you can see, one good year, that's one thing, but it's coming up, and it has been, I should say, quite low, the profitability. But of course, we are looking to increase it, so it's not just growth. If I would choose, it's definitely profitability, maybe before growth. But I'm sure we can deliver both. And wood protection, this has been said today, but it's to build capacity. Acquisitions, hopefully, and we are looking at it. And then digital development. Joinery, it's expand the timber windows concept, and there is a plan. Even to build the capacity, there is a plan. And then acquisitions would definitely suit very well here. More design, talking about the, garden products, it's a huge area. And there we have a lot of things to do. And we have to see with the furniture, that's not that easy, but I believe there is a room for something unique from us as well, like radical wood. Sawn wood, it's more to improvements, keep up with the productivity, and we have Vika wood, described it as a top, modern, very productive sawmill. And of course we need to invest to keep up with the competition as well, to be able to source the raw material, because at sawmilling, I'm absolutely convinced that there is less and less raw material available, looking globally and definitely in Europe. Not big steps, but gradually. It's more put aside for different things, and it will be tough competition, and you need to be very productive. Have top modern mills. And as described, we do definitely have the possibility of doing some kind of further processing, not just planing, but something more, which we are studying. So I think that's sawmilling. And then we have R&D, which is, I forget that piece. And we need to show it in real life. One example, the wood tube. There we have now invested the money to start the production, the first real production. And it's, of course, it's certified, but we also have the patent for Europe, Sweden, Europe, looking for more, and this is very light, it's stable, and it's extremely suitable for indoor studs for walls. Extremely suitable. And why not in furnitures, in bedding frames, sofa frames? So I'm sure this has it has a potential and also a future. And so we like, and we will take part in development of this. Only one example. And there will be more, but you will hear more about this one, I'm sure. So this is the, we haven't put any figures on this, but you can just, it will not be exactly like this, of course, but that's an indication of how we are thinking and plan to do this. strategic directions, again, this is to repeat how to get from this sawmilling company into more I would not call it an investment company, but a company which owns in a decentralized business model. It is wood processing. We have an aim of 10% annually growth without price increases. I mean, it's real growth. And take an active role in position in how to develop the wood protection and of course also the doors and windows, but not again to compete with big volumes of doors and windows. It is specialized. And then we can see also that digitalization and assist and help clients more to choose and to an after sales service. That is absolutely a possibility with wood and our kind of products. And of course sustainability, and that is part of every company needs to take that extremely seriously. So it's not unique for Bergs, but we have a sustainable product and we are going to do a lot to make our own production much better, more sustainable. And then you can say, why should we invest in Bergs? I think we have tried to explain that, but it is decentralized, which, I mean, the opposite is centralized, but we believe in decentralized. It works for us. We have the demand for our products, strong brands, at least some of them, and we are going to add more. And we have the growing plans, the plans to grow, and that we are actually changing direction. And we have the finances to do it. So by that, this is some more of our 1,000 employees. I think it's 1 or 2 is even in the room, actually. It was too late to remove them from this picture. So by that, I thank you for listening. And I think there was a few questions, yeah?
Thank you, Peter. Yes, actually, we have a few questions on the internet, and I will start with the tricky one.
Okay.
What does a double pellets price imply for your bottom line?
It's better profitability, but it's so hard you can't really just add on the price, because there is also raw material and it's currencies, but it will definitely mean that it's not loss-making anymore. Yeah. And it will start to contribute, especially next year. Maybe not that much this year, but next year it will start to contribute in the profitability. Sure. Nicely.
Like you said, the energy prices at present is probably in favor of the pellets industry. So,
yeah, of course. Now it's more like everything which could be burned seems to be used at the moment. So pellets is great.
Another question. How much organic growth do you expect per annum the next years?
Yeah, we have the goal at 10%. And that is really what we could... That is what we can say about that.
Another question about timber window sales today. Regarding the potential to double revenues, is that something we comment on?
No, that is a plan, and we have discussed it with Jay and in the board of PTBG quite a few times, and I firmly believe that is realistic. Jay confirmed it even this morning. It is realistic. But of course, that is part of this 10% growth in the company.
One question as follows. What can you do in order to try to lock in some of the margin effect of the extraordinary prices lately?
Yeah, it is to sell more, and of course we should not have too high stocks when prices are reducing. But we have to remember also that raw material, it's not just the ready goods or the lumber which reduce in price, it's even the raw material. So it's not, and as I described the business model in the Baltics as well, that raw material is also reducing quite quickly. So we have to work, it's a day-to-day, it's to be as clever as possible with doing business and
Sure.
Control your stocks but again, we also that joinery will benefit from reduced prices. We have to remember that as well, and that is part of the strategy to be a bit more spread around. We have several products which, will benefit next year for that.
But in terms of the sort of general conception of sustainability and we have a good raw material, I find it interesting that Berg is the only listed company in the wood processing sector in Sweden. Could you compare owning shares in Bergs, for instance, in the other traditional forest companies? Any comments on that decision?
I would not. I would leave that question because it's so different. I mean, a lot of the other listed companies, they have quite large ownerships in even in actually the forest, and they have completely different business models. And no, I would not like to compare them, but.
No. But a lot have happened in 2 or 3 years. If you look at Bergs in 5 years, what do you see in the crystal ball?
The next 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that we have succeeded to have at least the growth according to our financial targets. And I like to see that our margins are increasing further and it's stabilizing. And I think we can achieve that. We have grown especially in the joinery to be a bigger part of the company, and also wood protection, that we have succeeded to actually to grow the more special products and maybe not expand the tradition, but expand that and to expand the garden products. And of course that I believe that we're still in sawmilling. I'm not sure if we are in the port business in 5 years' time, but we have to see. And that we have been able to succeed in this digitalization and really being on the front edge instead of being behind it.
In terms of...
And more of this, of course.
More of this. And about WoodTube, what is the ownership of WoodTube at present?
At present it is 24.9%.
Okay.
And we will see what happens.
Good. In terms of digitalization, could you give us some examples of types of projects that are being worked on at the moment?
Yeah, we are doing this, what is it called in English? The configurators. So you can be able to look at doors and windows I mean, if you have your house, you can fit them in and change colors. You can put our furnitures on the veranda or a terrace. And I think actually that one thing we are thinking about it is to have, if someone has a house and you like to build some decking in front of it, and you can actually mold the decking on the configurator, and then you can see how much wood is needed and what is needed, and then you can press to have your order. And this is examples of what we're looking at.
Any questions in the audience? Jay, can you come forward, please? There were some questions regarding the your business. And one question is, which countries will you focus on regarding the European showrooms in 2023?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think broadly we'll be looking at Northern Europe, Scandinavia. A lot of similarities in the products, and also leveraging the supply chain as well.
And do you have any strategy or forecast in terms of margins on your business?
Yeah, margin-wise on the business, we enjoy margin from factory right through to the end consumer. With the current model, that's certainly what we anticipate being able to put into any expansion in other markets. We'd also look, as any business would, for continual improvements. And whilst Peter touched on synergies earlier on, there's some natural probably purchasing synergies there with multiple suppliers. So yeah, we'll keep looking for efficiencies throughout, but generally, we do benefit from the factory through to the consumer. And as part of the strategy, it's whilst we'll own probably the first one or two in the country, we definitely want the model to be the same as the UK, where 80% of it is owned by others. So we become the supplier into them with the added value, the premium product, the marketing support, and everything that we do. So that's
that will be the strategy to.
Absolutely, it's a well-trodden path as far as we're concerned. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. By that, we have come to the conclusion of this Capital Markets Day. I thank you very much for your interest in Bergs, and we are always here for you. Contact informations on websites and so on. So if you have further questions after today, please contact me or Peter or Anders or the others. So with that, thank you very much for today. Thank you.